Welcome to Live from the Tiki Lounge.
So let's get right into our session today. We have two great presenters, Amy Repke, who is our Vice President of Communications and Marketing, and Dawn Bauman, who is our Senior Vice President of Government and Public Affairs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to them.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. This is Amy Repke, and we're going to start off with talking about how you can use CAI's advocacy efforts to further your marketing and engagement with members and prospects. So we'll start with the first slide, Kelly. So when we were early on discussing this concept, I wanted to find a way to talk with you all about content marketing. It's something that's really important to CAI today. We are using a lot of our content that we've had for 20 plus years and repurposing that, as well as taking new content and building a platform where we can engage with members and build new audiences. So it's something you're going to hear a lot more about from us, but we're going to talk today specifically about content marketing and the way that you can do that with advocacy. I wanted to mention a few important aspects of content marketing for those that are unfamiliar with it. But content marketing really allows you to build trust with your audience. It also helps improve your membership conversion rate, getting those prospects to finally convert to members. It allows you an avenue to connect and engage with your current members, and also helps generate new leads. So today, you know, customers and members expect high quality, consistent content from their favorite organizations and brands, and that's something that we're really striving to do here at CAI. Okay, so I wanted to keep it simple for you. And again, we can share this information after the broadcast, but I kept it to 5 ways that your chapter can use advocacy content to reach prospects and engage with current members. So the first one is to create new emails or called drip campaigns. So it's something that we're doing if there is after an event, we are taking all of those attendees and we will create drip campaigns, and we will send them monthly emails on information that we think is relevant to them for attending that event. Or it could be a webinar that they take with CAI. So we're really trying to segment our email list and create drip campaigns. And those can be used for continuing member engagement, and also it can be used for prospecting. The second is using the advocacy content to promote on your social media channels. I know a lot of you are on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. This content that we share with you on a regular basis, you can pull it from our social media, or we'll show you ways to take that content from the website to make your own social media post. The other way is to showcase some of this content on your chapter's website. So this will help you with your search engine optimization. If there is a big issue happening in your state, you can take some of this content, put it on your site, and really work to drive searchers to your website. The other way is, number 4 is to take this content and create new education opportunities. Use that topic to host a luncheon or host your own webinar to engage members and also bring in prospects. And the 5th is to take this content, and you all have the right to republish this content. Use it for your own newsletters, magazines, videos, or blogs, but we encourage you to publish and republish any and all content that we create, or something that you find on the advocacy page. You can definitely share that with your members. So I thought to put this all in context, it would be beneficial to give an example. So I took a topic from the advocacy pages, and it is on assistance animals. I know that a lot of associations across the country are dealing with this topic. So I wanted to first show you an example of an easy email drip campaign. So this is an article that we had taken from Dawn's team, information from Dawn's team on assistance animals. And we wrote a very short, less than 500-word article on HOAresources.com. So this email went to members, and as you see, it's really short. One sentence, it's going to be a 2-minute read for them, and then we put in there, don't forget to bookmark. So this is just a clear example of a way that you can take that content and make a very brief email and send out to either prospects or current members, and as a way to segment, just, you know, play around with it. But it's a really easy, emails don't have to be long. We know that people don't have time to read. So I encourage you to take this content and make an email, and you can always reach out to us for other ideas. So the second one is ways that you can boost this content on your social media channels. So again, I gave you an example of what we did. So back in March, we had this beautiful new guide chart that we used to show the difference between assistance animals and the relevance to community associations. So this was a Facebook post, and, you know, we kept the copy really short, but then we linked to this page on the advocacy site of CAI.org. But, you know, I encourage you to share this content from CAI Social. I hope that all of you are following us on a regular basis, and you can share right there, or again, you can pull the content from the website. And then I also encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. And I'll talk about YouTube a little bit later, but I do want to say that all of those videos are available to you and your chapter. If you want to share them from YouTube, you can do that. Or if you want to post that in a different manner and you want a clean version, please reach out to my team and we can upload that into a Dropbox and you guys can grab it from there. So the next slide, Kelly. So this is, so we're doing a lot with search engine optimization, and that is when people go into browsers. Google is probably the most common used today, but go into browsers and they're searching key terms. And so, you know, we as an industry use community associations, but often the general public and the media are still using the term or the acronym HOA, homeowners association, or condominium. So we're trying to actually rank in all of those. And so when we post new content to our website, that helps with the SEO. So if someone is going through and looking at searching for HOA and pets or HOA and assistance animals, we want CAI and our content to come up. We really ideally want it to come up first, second, before any ads, but being on Google's page 1 is very important to us. So the more content that you can share on your website, it's only going to increase the visibility of CAI and your chapter. So I encourage you, if you're looking for new content, come to us and we can work with you on ways to help you build out your website and build out landing pages for content. But I feel like the more that we can share the same message, it's just going to help CAI as a whole and our ranking specifically with Google. Next. So one of the ideas I had for you all is, I know that chapters do host your own webinars. You also have your lunch events and other networking events, and some of you are doing podcasts. So this was just a banner that we created with a promotion for a live webinar that we were doing on that assistance animal topic. So it is, I know you guys are all doing these sort of things, so if you need our help with how to visually tell that story, again, you can reach out to us. But this was just an example of how we shared that we were going to be promoting a webinar on the topic. And the next I would say is, content marketing is all about being the trusted source. And as the industry leader, we want CAI to be the go-to place for people to come and find the information. Not only people living in community associations, but the media that's trying to tell the story about homeowners associations today. So as the thought leaders, I really want to look to the chapters to help us with this movement. And the way that we're doing it from headquarters is our publications. And with Common Ground Magazine and CAI at Home, the new HOAresources.com site, and all of the other content that we provide, publications that we offer providing our content, that is all available to you all. And I know that many of you reach out to me and my team on a continuous basis. Thank you. We definitely want you to share our content. I know in the past there was a time frame where we wanted you to wait a certain period of time before republishing our content. We did away with that years ago. So if something is printed in July, August, Common Ground, you have access to that. And we encourage you to not wait, but to put that in your communications, your emails, your publications to members and help us get that message out. And then I did include a link to YouTube, and you can just go on YouTube and search Community Associations Institute. There are probably nearly 100 videos there that are great for you all to put videos into emails, videos on social media, and your website. And again, you have access to all of this that we create. If there is an idea that you have for a video, please reach out to me, because my team is trying to do weekly videos on trending topics, but we always welcome opinions and ideas from you all. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dawn.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you virtually. I miss you guys. I certainly wish we were all together at in some state, in some beautiful hotel, networking and talking and sharing ideas. I know you guys have already recognized on a number of occasions all of the award winners, but I want to congratulate all of you for all the good work that you've done, and to the CED of the Year, Cheryl, and Rising Stars. Do we have more than one Rising Star? I know we have James Nicholson. Do we just have one?
And Karen Mayfield.
And Karen Mayfield. I'm like, I feel like
we
we have another. Karen, and I saw Karen is on here. Congratulations, Karen, James, and Cheryl. Well earned, well deserved. Okay, so I wanted to start this off with a poll. Do you feel like you personally have a good understanding of the value of CAI's advocacy efforts for our members or to our members? 83% say yes, and 19% say no, about 80-20. Oh, it's the 80-20 rule. Awesome. I think that because we have presidents-elect, and chapter executive directors, this is actually higher than I expected, which is great. I feel like when I first became a chapter executive director when I was in 8th grade, and I was with the Arizona chapter, I feel like it took me several years to really grasp what the advocacy efforts value was for our members. It was really hard to kind of wrap my head around it, and it was hard for me to wrap my head around how to communicate that value to our members. So what I thought I would do is, I'm not going to do an exhaustive list of all of what CAI does from an advocacy standpoint. I wanted to just identify a couple of things that I thought would be really valuable for you today to help and give you some takeaways that you can do this week, next week, or the following week to help continue to demonstrate advocacy value to our members. Some of this you may already know. Some of it might just be a reminder and maybe pointing you where things are on our website. So 1, connect with legislative action committees. If you are not already connected with your legislative action committees, please connect with them. If they say, we're good, we got it, we don't need your help, say, no, I need to be involved. I need your help. I need to be part of this committee. Chapter executive directors, presidents-elect should feel free to reach out to the legislative action committees and should feel welcome to be engaged by that committee whenever you want. If not, please reach out to me, and I or someone on my team will help you make that connection. We're coming up on a time, I think last week you received a memo from Lula, probably through the midweek, regarding chapter delegate appointments. So we're coming up on the time of appointing delegates to the Legislative Action Committee. Look at Kelly, you're so awesome, thank you. We tried to explain this simply in this memo. It's not an easy process, but basically in a nutshell, by the end of the summer, the longest time out by the end of September, your board should approve chapter delegates to serve on the Legislative Action Committee. The Legislative Action Committee can also appoint delegates, but your boards have a responsibility to appoint delegates. At least, so if you have one chapter in your state, you appoint 6 delegates. If you have more than one chapter in your state, each chapter has the opportunity to appoint 3 delegates. Now, if there's more than one chapter in a state, thinking Florida, Texas, California, we have to navigate the appointments to make sure that we have broad representation of our membership serving on those LACs. So if anyone has questions about the delegate appointment process, please post it in the chats, reach out to me, happy to help. What's important is if your chapter board is hearing from the LAC, hey, here's who you should appoint. These are great people. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. If your chapter board doesn't want to do that, it's okay. Have a conversation with the LAC. Have a conversation with the board. Bring people together and identify really the best people to serve in those roles. And importantly, when you participate in those meetings, hear what's going on so that and ask questions so that you can understand what your LAC is talking about and so you can specifically communicate to members. What I found, because I'm not an attorney and I serve in this role, I've found that I've had an easier time communicating our policy issues to members because I have to break them down for myself before I communicate them. If I don't understand what I'm sending out, I'm never going to send it out. So I want you guys to be in that same boat, especially chapter executive directors. If you get an article or an email from your Legislative Action Committee and it says send this out now, if you read it and you don't understand it, our members aren't going to understand it either. So make sure that you understand what is being talked about and what the message is when it's sent to members. I think that's really important. I put this sample up here. I saw Ben is on the call, Ben Weaver from Idaho. Shout out to Ben. I put this on the slide because I wanted to give an example of communicating with members, being specific about what our LACs do and how it impacts community associations. So instead of saying the Idaho legislature passed a law that doesn't allow rentals, use more words. Use words that boards and managers will connect with so that they understand exactly what this legislation means to them. This is a fact. This particular statement is actually a fact, sadly. But anyway, so know what you're sending to members, understand it before you send it out. And go back to your LAC or go back, thanks, you're on the right slide, thank you, Kelly. Go back to your LAC and say, hey, I don't get this, what are you trying to say? I say that often. What are you trying to say? Help me understand so I can rewrite it so that others will understand. A couple of things that you can do this week. Add the LAC delegate appointment process to your chapter's July or August board meeting agenda. Contact your LAC chair and ask them to be included on the distribution list for all LAC communications, not just meetings, But if you're involved in all of their communication, email communication, it's going to help you have a better understanding. And I'm talking to you presidents as well, a better understanding of what they're doing and how to communicate that to our members. Review the LAC operational guidelines, which is really important. So the LAC operational guidelines is a document that has been prepared and we've used for decades. It's been updated. It was updated about 10 years ago. It's due for another update. But look at those guidelines. It tells you what the chapter's role should be. It tells you what the LAC's role should be. It tells you if there's a conflict and one person on the LAC doesn't agree with public policy, what do you do? It talks about the public policy. So if you have an opportunity, read a couple pages every day over the next couple of weeks. I think it will be valuable. Thanks, Kelly. Some of the advocacy resources that we have for our legislative action committees and for all of you. So we have a real-time legislative tracking system. We use another company. What state is that? That's Georgia. So we use a company that we contract with. We give them keywords. We every day get 2 emails. Our staff gets 2 emails of all the bills that have been introduced that day or amended that day or acted on that day. We segment them. This is automatic. Each state has their own legislative tracking page. If you don't know where yours is, let us know. Actually, I think PJ's on the line. You can send everybody kind of their URL. You can send a general URL for where their state LAC information is. Excuse me. So that legislative tracking is real time. Now, during legislative sessions, as chapter executive directors, you probably get a lot of emails that start out with CQ. That's Congressional Quarterly. That's the program we use, the firm we use to track legislation. And when you get those emails, that means a change has been made to a bill. And it's usually pretty important. And it goes to you and all members of the Legislative Action Committee, just as an FYI. We also have our call to action system. This is another third-party system that we use. When a LAC says to you, hey, we need to get the word out to our members that they need to contact their legislators and let them know about a specific bill to either oppose, support, whatever. We have a system in place that we can send those emails. We have a team in place that can draft the emails in a way that we believe members will be able to understand and then connect with their legislators. What's important is this is a really great system that we have. If we want to target one person, one legislator, we can target one legislator. We can have everyone in Illinois reach out to the governor. We can have everyone in Kansas reach out to one committee in Kansas, or we can have people reach out just to their legislators. So we have ability to be very creative and targeted and focused with our calls to action. And we often work with our legislative action committees to encourage them to be very targeted in our communications because we don't want to always send everything to everyone. We want to be able to target our communications so that when legislators hear from us, it's effective. Thanks. Thanks, Kelly. A couple of other channels. So we have our advocacy blog. We post once a week on average. Sometimes it's twice a week. Sometimes it's every other week. We do a blog post. Those blog posts are almost always focused on public policy issues. We try to stay away from the education issues. We try to stay away from general CAI, general best practices. We try to keep our blog, because there's a CAI blog, focused just on advocacy and policy issues. Some of these issues that are on our blog, usually they're between 200 and I would say 250 and 700 words, depending on how much information we feel we have to share and how well we did editing it down. But what I would encourage you guys to do, go on this blog. First of all, subscribe to the blog because it really does give great information. Also, I encourage you to take that information, copy it and paste it, put it on your website, put it in your newsletters, put it in your magazines, put a link in your Friday emails if you happen to do weekly emails. This is content that's already done, and it's almost always either national in scope or so that it does still trickle down and is meaningful to members in your chapters. So feel free to use this stuff as much as you want. All we ask is that you source the CAI Advocacy blog so that people can go back and find more information if they'd like to. Our website as well. We have a lot of content on our website that I feel like chapters could go through and pull content for newsletters, for ideas, for education programs, to support social media. We have white papers and guidance documents. We have a lot on the advocacy page of the website. Can you click on, if you go back to, let's see, where are you? Click on public policies, that'd be great. Here's a huge access to, and just choose any one of those. I don't care which one you choose, just click on one of them. We have all of these public policies. If you want to take these public policies and pare it down and use it in a newsletter article and say, this is what CAI's position is on alternative dispute resolution, great, take that content and use it. If you want to use it in social media, hey, if you know that people are talking about something, maybe they're talking about short-term rentals, or maybe they're talking about reserves or manager licensing, you can go find our policy on that, click on it, take it, here's CAI's statement on this. Go ahead and use all this content. By the way, these public policies are, you've seen before probably, emails from our team saying, hey, we have a new public policy, electronic vehicle charging stations, that we are vetting. So we came up with a policy, came up with the content, we share it with everybody saying, what do you think? Comments, questions, give us your feedback before we submit it to the CAI Board of Trustees for their approval. So these are well vetted through hundreds of people, developed by volunteers and experts in the area, and then it's put on our website. This is our policy position on all of these issues. Our legislative action committees are obligated to comply with these policy issues, these policy statements. If they cannot comply, or if they don't comply, they have to make a specific request to the CAI Government and Public Affairs Committee saying, hey, we can't comply with this policy and here's why. And they have to get approval before they move in another direction. But this is really great content. This right here demonstrates great value to our members because this, our CAI Public Policies, it's our promise to our members. We promise that we are going to advocate as hard as we can to preserve these public policies for you. Okay, thanks, Kelly. And social media. So we have a Twitter account and an Instagram account. It's at CAI Advocacy. I encourage you to follow us as well. We try to follow a lot of our chapters. We keep our content on our social media channels narrowly focused to policy issues. So it's unlikely that we're going to promote CAI's conference on our channel because we have a lot of legislators on our channel, and so we don't want to push out promos for books and things like that. We want to put out their content that's going to engage them, encourage them to continue to follow us, and provide really meaningful substantive information. And I take that back. We promote CAI's conference, but we don't do it as much as our CAI channels because that's part of the role of the CAI channel. Oh, and YouTube. Do we have a YouTube? Okay, thanks, Kelly. Okay, so a couple of things that you can do this week or next week or the following week. Subscribe to CAI's blog. Publish one of the blog articles in your upcoming newsletter or weekly email. Follow at CAI Advocacy on Twitter or Instagram and retweet whatever we're doing. And link your website to CAI's website to your specific Legislative Action Committee page. So can you go to that link actually, Kelly, because that's a really good one. I want to show let's see, who am I looking at right now? Oh, I'm looking at Mike T from Palm Springs. Can we go to the California page? So this is the California page. You'll see right in the middle, it gives our statistics, right? It says how many people are living in how many community associations. It talks about the economic impact. So what dollar amount of dues are paid as assessments to associations every year? What's the property value? And then you'll see on the right-hand side, the current legislative tracking in California. You don't have to click on it. The current Legislative Action Committee roster, so everyone's listed there. And because the California Legislative Action Committee has their own webpage, we have a link right there. But some of most of our LACs don't have their own webpage. They go right here, and we have resources for legislators as well as resources for our Legislative Action Committees. Fundraising information for our Legislative Action Committees, and then, of course, resources for legislators. Thanks, Kelly. So you should, if you don't have anything on your website for your Legislative Action Committee, you should definitely link your state page to your website. Okay, awesome. Next page. Thanks, Kelly. Okay, so some just other materials that we have. Again, I am not going through an exhaustive list, but I wanted to provide some information that are of resources that are used a lot, materials that are used a lot. First, the infographic. So you see, here's the Tennessee facts and figures, and that's what I'm referring to when I refer to an infographic. Every state has a facts and figures document. It's a one-page PDF. I use it all the time for all of the states. I use it when I go to federal meetings, when I go to state meetings. I use it when I'm talking with media from specific states. I use it all the time. It's really helpful to tell a story about the community association housing model in that state. We talked about, I'm going to get back to surveys. We talked about public policies, position papers. So we have position papers on some of our more I would say priority issues or controversial issues. So we have position papers on the ombudsman programs. So some states have an ombudsman, which is a state agency that takes complaints from people who live in associations. We've done an analysis on ombudsman programs and how valuable they are, what type of complaints they have received. We've done an analysis on the legislation. We've compiled information on all the legislation. We've gone through reports by each of these ombudsman programs to pull together highlights so that we can share that information when others are looking for content or looking for information about policy issues. We have a policy paper on long-term rentals and short-term rentals. We have a policy paper on music licensing. You may have heard music licensing or movie licensing. So we have a lot of policy papers that help substantiate our issues and also help educate the general public on some of the issues of importance to CAI. So surveys, we also do a lot of surveys and from a public policy standpoint. So you may have seen just in the COVID-19, the COVID era, if you will, we have 2 surveys that we've done and one that we are going to release tomorrow. So the 2 surveys that we've already done are benchmarking how many associations how associations are seeing assessment collections during COVID. So are they seeing delinquencies or not? We also are benchmarking employment of status of community association managers. So due to COVID, have you seen a decrease in, have you lost your job? Have you been furloughed? Have your hours been cut? So we do these surveys so that we can help policymakers understand what types of policies have an impact or what types of circumstances have an impact on the community association housing model, and to help us advocate on some of these issues. So the survey that we're releasing tomorrow, which I'm sure all of you will be interested in, is asking our members if they're opening their pools. And if they're not opening their pools, why are they not opening their pools? And taking it to the next step, are you seeing an increase in costs on your pool maintenance and other maintenance in other common areas in your community due to COVID? So those types of things you guys can use as much as you want. We try to send a lot of that stuff out in the midweeks to the chapters, but there's a lot, right? So if you're ever looking for content, please just contact a member of the Government and Public Affairs team and let us know, and we'll be happy to try to find something that will help you out. So we have spent just so many hours on compiling the content for this webpage. As you guys know, our members, people were sheltering in place, right? Staying at home. So where are they going? They're going to our communities. And our communities are the ones that have to understand and deal with the stay-at-home orders, then the phasing orders, and now there are also local county and city ordinances that may impact how they open their pools, how they manage guests, how they open their community centers, etc. So this one page is like a portal to every state's rules and regulations related to community associations specific and COVID. You can also go to cities and counties and find out specifically what is happening in your city and county that may impact community associations. So Kelly, I'd like you to click on for state government actions. Just click on that, click here. For state government actions. Nope. Oh, okay, I guess that works, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I guess it did work. So if you can scroll down just a little bit. So you see each state, that's good. So each state has a link to the health department, to the stay-at-home orders. It also has information about any specific pool guidelines, any short-term rentals, because you may have heard short-term rentals were banned by certain counties in some states. Some states banned them altogether temporarily. Florida did, for example. So we have a link to all of that information. Foreclosures suspended, evictions suspended. What we're adding to this list is liability for community associations. There are states passing laws that will provide some level of immunity for liability to boards if they're opening community associations. So there's a tremendous amount of information here, and I would suggest you guys can just take a link. We have lots of infographics. Reach out to my colleague, PJ Lepp. She can give you an infographic about these state government actions. You can put it on your social media channels, link it here. People will be able to find their state information. I think it's been a really valuable resource for our members. Thanks a lot, Kelly. Oh, thanks, Debbie Lee. She said these resources are impressive. Thanks. Okay, what can you do this week? What can you do this week, next week, or the following week? Use your facts and figures on your social media or in your communications with members periodically. Promote a public policy each week or each month in your member communication. Hey, here's what CAI has to say on foreclosures. Here's what CAI has to say on reserves, etc. Okay, thanks. I don't know if you can hear me while that's going, can you? Oh, you can, okay. So this is a video that we put together for several of our legislative action committees to help to promote legislative action committees. It just gives a snapshot of information. People want videos, right? Just to remind our members that we have legislative action committees and here's what they're doing. So see that URL? That's basically what your state URL is. So it's caionline.org/TX Texas LAC or AZ LAC or Mississippi LAC or Washington LAC, whatever. So that's your URL that you can use. But if you want one of these videos, I know right now my team and Amy's team is cringing because just let us know. Yep, Kathy Roth, gotcha. We'll get you one. It will take a bit for us to get you one, but we will get you one of those videos. We created one for Florida, Texas, and Tennessee, and in particular those states because we had some issues that we were battling and we really needed to get CAI's word out there. So that's why we chose those states. So those are some of the resources that I wanted to, gotcha, Cheryl, that I wanted to share with you guys. And again, we're always here for you. We love working with you. We're so sorry that we're not with you in person. But we have lots of resources and hope to continue to work really closely with you guys. If you have any issues with your legislative action committees, please come talk to us, or talk to Kim McLean. She's got an amazing relationship with her LAC. She can teach you the ropes. But yeah, come talk to us. And I think that we are open for any questions.
Dawn, yes, we do have a couple questions. First of all, Debbie Lee says she has updated her website with that information. So we're so excited to hear that.
Thank you, Debbie.
Going back to the delegates, we do have a couple questions about that. The first one is, does the LAC have to be does the person have to be a resident of the state they are representing?
Oh, that's a good question. No, they don't. They have to be a member in that state.
Okay.
However, I would say, let's be really thoughtful about who you're appointing to the LAC, right? So if you're in one of those states, let's see, maybe, let's just say Washington, D.C., right? So in Washington, D.C., there's D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and most people do business in all three states. So if you're living in Virginia, but you're doing business in Maryland and you're doing business in DC and you get appointed to one of those LACs, it might make sense. But people who are appointed to the LACs are also going to be called upon to testify at the legislature and to write letters and to influence legislators. So we want those people to have a stake in the game. And we want those people to be able to say, hey, I'm a constituent and I am here to talk to you about this, and this is why it's important. If it happens to be maybe an insurance agent who has a ton of clients in that state, and they can stand up and say, hey, you know what? I represent 200 community associations right here in Missouri, then that makes sense. So I just think be really mindful.
Okay, great, thank you. And the next question has to do with that as well. The LAC nomination form has them sign stating they understand the legal and ethical specifications that apply to lobbying in the state and pledge they will serve according to those specifications. Is there a document somewhere they can review?
Oh, that's a really good question. That is state by state because each state has different laws. And if somebody would like that information, they can easily go find it if they type in their state and they type in lobbyist, they'll find that documentation. If they can't find it and they need some assistance with it, happy to do it. What's important there is sometimes, I don't think any states will create a situation that a LAC member is confused as a lobbyist, unless they are really taking money and lobbying. So for the most part, we just want to make sure that people aren't crossing the line of lobbyist when they're serving as a member of the Legislative Action Committee.
Okay, it looks like we have a question for Amy. And Amy, who do we speak to if we're having issues with Gaggle? Kathy wants to know.
Okay. Hi, Kathy. Amada Merritt handles Gaggle, so you can email her directly, and I will put her email in the chat. But she can answer all of your Gaggle concerns.
Awesome, thank you. And are there any, that looks like all the questions in the chat. Is there anyone else who has a question? You can either raise your hand on here or post it in the chat.
I'm never done early. I never have 10 minutes to spare.
So this is a question that Bridget's asking for you, Amy, as well. She's noticed that on Gaggle that they're not able to share via LinkedIn anymore, and she was wondering why.
So LinkedIn changed its algorithm, and so now Gaggle is having a tough time linking stories to LinkedIn. So they're working on it, and we're just told that because of the way that LinkedIn is now using its algorithm, that more of our content will be from Facebook and Twitter. And I did notice that someone had mentioned earlier in the chat that there was more content for Twitter than Facebook. So I can definitely take that back to Amada and we can see what we do. The way that Gaggle sources the content, we push out the content, and then Gaggle will take what is trending the highest and put that out for you all. So we can try to figure out how we can get more Facebook posts into Gaggle and not so much Twitter.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
We have another question from Debbie Lee. A business partner is looking for a neighbor signage link for a webinar on Monday, but she said it's not working. Where can they find this?
I'm not sure what the
Is that a webinar that Debbie Lee? Do you want to unmute yourself and elaborate a little bit?
Sorry. Yeah, she had just emailed me and said she was on a webinar on Monday and there was a link to some friendly neighbor signage and it wasn't working, and could I help her? And I was like, I don't know. So I figured I'm on here. I'd ask because that seems like marketing stuff, maybe.
I'm thinking that might have been in the annual meeting. I'll need to go back and look. I'll circle.
You know
back.
what it is, Amy?
Yeah.
Amy, it's probably the coronavirus helping neighbors.
Yes, the neighbor card. I know
It's the neighbor card, so you can probably go on the coronavirus website.
it'll be
Yes.
on the resource page. I'll go ahead and put another link in the chat.
It is on Media Manager as well
Thank
in the COVID resources, and then like Amy said, on the coronavirus resource page as well. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good resource that your communities can use. And I would encourage you guys to put that out on your social media, you know, and in your newsletters and stuff like that. Any other questions for Amy and Don while we have them? All right.
Okay then. Well, Dawn and Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. Great session.
Pleasure.
Our next session will be July 1st. It's Riding the Wave, Redefining Programming and Engagement. And then our final one will be Somewhere Over the Rainbow, A Bright Future for Chapters 2021 Strategic Planning and Operations. So thank you everybody for joining us today, and see you next time at the Tiki Hut.